Sis, have you ever had a moment where something just didn't feel right? Maybe you couldn't explain why, but deep down you just knew? That's your intuition talking. And let me tell you, your gut instinct is one of the most powerful tools you have. But the problem is, we don't always trust it. We second guess ourselves, overthink, and sometimes we listen to everyone else except for ourselves. Today, we're talking about how to trust your gut, how to tell the difference between fear and intuition, and how to stop doubting yourself when you already know the answer. So strap in, sis. It's time for another episode of Big Sis Chris. Sis, have you ever had a moment where something just didn't feel right? Maybe you couldn't exactly explain why, but deep down you just knew? That's your intuition talking. And let me tell you, sis, your gut instinct is one of the most powerful tools you have. But the problem is, we don't always trust it. We second guess ourselves, overthink, and sometimes listen to everyone around us except for ourselves. Today, we're talking about how to trust your gut, how to tell the difference between fear and intuition, and how to stop doubting yourself when you already know the answer. It's time for another episode of Big Sis Chris. First things first, what is your gut instinct? Your gut instinct, your intuition, it's like a built-in GPS for your life. It's that deep inner knowing that you have that guides you towards what's right and warns you when something isn't. And guess what, girl? It's always been there. But however, somewhere along the way, society, fear, and self-doubt taught us to ignore it. There was a time when I ignored my gut, and I definitely regretted it later on. I was in a relationship and I had a gut instinct really tugging at me and telling me that something was off. I had been ignoring a lot of red flags. I could see some things were off in the situation, but I kept ignoring it. I kept pushing it down and thinking like, oh, maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe I'm thinking too hard. Maybe I'm not really looking at things the way that they should be seen. However, sis, I definitely regretted it later because my gut instinct was right. I would later find out that that person was doing things that they told me that they weren't doing, but I had a gut feeling that was telling me that they were doing. Without getting into too much detail, this really let me know that my gut instinct was right all along, and I should have just trusted myself. I should have just listened to that inner knowing, that deep feeling that I had that let me know that things were off and that all of my little, let's call them spidey senses, were going off and telling me like, you need to pay attention. You need to pick up on this. You need to rethink that. You need to double check this. Like the gut instinct was really urging me and giving me a push to take a second look at these things, and I was just ignoring it, pushing it down, trying to pretend like I didn't have that feeling inside that was letting me know that something was off. So I definitely regretted that later on, because had I listened to my gut instinct, or at least acknowledged it and looked into things a little bit more, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache. I would have saved myself a lot of problems. I would have saved myself a lot of time, and time is the one thing that we're not getting back. So you really do have to trust your gut instinct. And then there's been times where I've trusted my gut and it's turned out to be the best decision ever. I had a gut feeling telling me to go look at this car, and the car was not in my geographical area, but I had saw the car online. The pictures look really nice. I wanted to see it in person and take a second look at it, and I just didn't know. I called up my man and I was just like, hey, I want to go today. Immediately, he booked the flights for us both to fly out to go see this car. And I just had a gut feeling that this was going to be it. So I went ahead and applied for pre-approval financing. So I knew I could get the car if I wanted to. I trusted my gut and I went out there to see the car, immediately fell in love and ended up purchasing it that day. And the process was so smooth and easy because I had trusted my gut feeling and that deep inner knowing to know that this is going to be the one, sis. Like I just have a feeling like this is going to work out. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. Like it's just something about it. I just had an inner knowing. I didn't really know because again, the pictures can look good online, but you get there, you're like, oh, this is wrong, or I don't like that, or I don't look good in it, or whatever the case may be, but it ended up working out in my favor. So I just want you to know, sis, our intuition, our gut instinct, it's always working, and we just have to learn to listen to it. And if you listen to it, whether it be good or bad, it's always working for you. So listen to it and use it. Well, what are the signs that your gut is talking to you? Sometimes we expect our intuition to be this loud, dramatic sign, but most of the times it's very subtle. It's a feeling. It's a knowing. So here are some ways your gut may be speaking to you, sis. You're feeling very uneasy, even if everything looks okay on the surface. An example of this would be you meet someone for the very first time and everything about them looks nice, but something just seems off. You feel very uneasy. Something about them makes you feel uncomfortable. That's your gut instinct talking to you. Number 2, your energy shifts around a certain person or a situation. An example of this would be you walk into a room and you immediately feel off. That's not random at all. That's your body picking up on something. Your body is picking up on that energy that's around, and it's letting you know like, hey, our, what do we call them? Spidey senses are tingling. Something's not right here. Something's not right here. Something's not right here. Number 3, you keep thinking about the same thing over and over. An example of this would be like you're debating on accepting a new job offer or ending a relationship that you're in, and you just keep thinking about it over and over and over again. Like the thought just won't leave you alone. That's your intuition. Number 4, your body reacts. Have you ever just felt like a huge drop or pit in your stomach, or all of a sudden out of nowhere you get chills or goosebumps? Suddenly out of nowhere you're anxious. All of those are cues and signs, signals that your body is sending to you to let you know, hey, I have a message for you. I know me personally, I've been in situations where I've walked into a room and I've immediately felt uneasy. I'm the type of girl, I always walk into every room like I own it. I'm sorry. I know I don't care if it ain't my birthday. I don't care if somebody else is supposed to be the star of the show. This is my world. In my world, I'm the main character. I have main character energy. So when I walk in like I own the room. And immediately when I walked into this room, I felt daggers, literally daggers into my body, into my waist, into my, I felt like this energy that was kind of like stabbing and poking at me. And I immediately knew like that's my gut instinct saying like, hey, somebody up in here is hating on you. And I don't mean just like the simple, oh girl, she don't like you. I mean like a strong feeling of hate just from you simply walking in the room. So that is your gut instinct. That is your body reacting. That is you feeling uneasy. That is all those 4 things that I just mentioned, all coupled into one, letting me know my instincts are trying to tell me something. How do we tell the difference between intuition and fear? One of the biggest questions that I always get is, Chris, how do I know if it's my anxiety talking or my intuition? And girl, I get it. Sometimes we confuse fear with our gut feeling. But here, let's talk about the difference. Fear is very loud and your intuition is more quiet. Fear is going to almost yell at you. It's going to make you panic. It's going to give you anxiety. It's creating these worst case scenarios. Intuition, that gut feeling, it's more so a calm knowing. It's an inner deep feeling that you have that's very calming and almost reassuring, because it's just like, I had this thought and now I have this knowing. So it's like the 2 match up and everything is aligned. Fear itself is also based on past trauma, whereas intuition is based on the present moment. If you've been hurt before, fear may make you run even when you're not in danger. But intuition is not really about the past. It's about what's happening to you right now in the moment. Fear is going to feel more like avoidance. Intuition feels more like alignment. Fear is going to make you run away because you're scared, girl. Intuition is more of a guidance tool. Like it's going to guide you closer to something if it's good for you, or away for something if it's not right for you. I have definitely mistaken fear for intuition. And an example of that was when I got back into the dating world for the umpteenth time. We all know how the dating scene could be. I was allowing for past trauma and things that I had been through kind of hold me back from what my intuition was telling me that this situation was okay to move forward with. You have to really understand, is this just past experiences talking, or is this really a gut feeling that I'm feeling in the moment that something is or is not right? So for me, really taking the time to say, hey, is this my gut talking? Like, is something really wrong? Is something really wrong? Are my spidey senses going off? Or am I allowing fear and trauma-based experiences that I may have had in the past come into this present moment, steer me off the path of my greatest good? Take a moment and think about those things and allow for you to really understand, like, let me think, girl, is this okay? Is this something else talking? Is this something that may have happened to me in the past that's giving me this reaction now? So once I really dug deep and saw that, I was like, oh, let's not miss this great opportunity because something like similar may have happened in the past. Let me trust my gut feeling of knowing, like, proceed, but proceed with caution. Take those experiences with you. I'm not saying completely forget that you've had those experiences. Take those experiences with you. However, you have intuition for a reason. Trust your gut. Think about the present moment and allow yourself to really feel that present moment outside of the past experiences that may have happened to you, because at this moment you've already turned the page. That's the last chapter. That's the previous page that you were on. This is the current page that you're on. You don't even know what those words say yet, right? So how can you make a decision from what happened over there of what's going to happen forward. You don't know. It's a surprise. It's the unknown. So trust your gut, go forward. And I did that, and it turned out to be the best thing ever for me. It's been a beautiful, wonderful, healthy relationship, a very trusting and open relationship where there is not a lot of things hidden that my trauma-based fear was trying to hold me back from, because of that's what I experienced in the past. I almost shifted that onto this current situation or relationship because I almost allowed that fear to control me. So I'm glad that I realized it was, it wasn't my gut warning me. It was just past experiences talking that almost prevented me from something great. How do we strengthen our intuition and really learn how to trust it? Okay, so now that we know what intuition is and how to recognize it, let's talk about how to actually trust it. Because if you're used to second guessing yourself or saying, hold on, wait a minute, I don't know if I can trust myself, this is going to take some time and some practice for you. So start small. Your intuition speaks to you every single day. Practice by listening to it in little ways, like choosing a route home, deciding who to sit next to, or picking up on someone's vibe, their energy. And stop asking for too many opinions. Sis, sometimes we already know the answer. It's in you. You already know. But you'll ask 10 different people hoping that somebody's going to give you the answer that you want instead of what you truly need to hear. Journal your gut feelings, like write it down. Think about it in different ways. Have a conversation with yourself on paper. Get a strong feeling about something, write it down. Later, once the situation has passed, go back and see where you're right. That's how you learn to trust your gut. This one may be a little bit hard, but you got to spend some time alone in silence. Your intuition, your inner gut feeling is not going to scream at you over all the things going on in your life. Spend some time alone, unplugged from, your phone, your iPad, all these different things going on around you, and pay attention to what comes up next. Lastly, trust your first reaction. If something feels off, believe in that feeling. Don't overanalyze it to death. Don't beat the dead horse. Your gut knows before your mind does. During COVID, the pandemic, if you will, I had been virtually homeschooling my girls. And in that time, I had moved in with my boyfriend. So we were 45 minutes away from their school. And I was so unsure about pulling them out of their school because I didn't trust my gut. I was just thinking of all the bad things that could go wrong or all the worst case scenarios that could happen. And I didn't trust my gut. So I was calling around to my sister. I was asking my man. I was asking my kids. I was getting all these different opinions instead of trusting myself to make that decision for me that I was feeling that inner knowing that I already had. It's time to pull the plug. It's time to move on. Even though I already knew what to do, even though I already knew the decision that I was going to make, even though I already knew what was best for my kids because they're my kids, they're my girls, I still asked around for other people's opinions because I was operating out of fear instead of trusting myself and committing to the decision that I made and trusting that gut feeling. So sis, here's what I need you to remember. Your intuition is not random. It's not something that you have to earn. It's already inside of you. The more you listen to it, the stronger it gets. And sis, when you learn to trust your gut, when you learn to trust your intuition, you become unstoppable. Have you ever had a time where your gut told you something before your mind caught up? Drop your story in the comments below. I want to hear from you. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend who may need this advice today, sis. I want to thank you for being here for another episode of Big Sis Chris, and I love you so much. I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.